Welcome to Fire and Life Talk, transforming a world one heart at a time.
Well, hello and welcome to Fire and Life Talk. We're just so glad that you're here. Wherever you're watching that from around the world, I just want to encourage you to comment, to subscribe, like, and all that stuff. But we'd love to hear from you. As a matter of fact, if you want to know more about us, go to fireandlife.org, for we're an international outreach ministry, and this is just one of the platforms that the Lord is using us to get his word across. But we're here to encourage, to empower, and to equip you for life. And so we have different guests that come on from different genres of life, different aspects, and talk about their challenges, talk about their victories. And on today, we have a great guest that he's been on before. Joseph B. Roberts is in the house today, or in the studio, and we appreciate him for coming. But he's coming on a different aspect today. He's doing some new things, and we're just so proud of him. We said, hey, man, come on the show and share what you're doing. And so we're looking forward to a great show. The title today is Elevation to Revelation. I'm telling you, he's going to come with it strong. He's going to come with it strong. But before we bring him into the studio, you know I got to do it right. My Proverbs 18:22, my good thing. What's going on, Pastor Gina?
Oh, wow, great. Everything's going great.
Yeah, I threw you off there, didn't I? Yeah,
Yes, you did.
keeping it alive. So
Yeah,
we looking forward to today. Our good friend, Joseph B.
yes,
Roberts, is
yes,
coming on to talk about revelation to elevation.
yes,
And just from our personal, as we were talking, revelation to elevation in our lives has just been awesome, and we know that it's a journey. So I know this
yes,
show will really help others on how to get a revelation and how to take that revelation to be elevated, not for selfish reasons, but for the purpose of the kingdom of God,
right,
and to get an understanding what He's trying to elevate us to.
right,
Right.
right.
So I tell you what, let's just you do you have anything? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just excited about the show, and
Amen.
I'm so glad that he's coming back on to talk to us. We really enjoyed the last time, and so I'm
Yes,
excited.
I'm excited as well. So let's just bring him in. Joseph B. Roberts, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be back on the show with you.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. It's been some time, but we've been graced and blessed enough to be able to communicate, and our relationship has been grown, and the Lord's still developing it. And we look at you as a true brother.
I
Yes.
True
appreciate
brother
that.
in Christ. So again, we appreciate you coming on because we know you're on vacation, and we know you're on vacation. So we just appreciate you taking the time to come onto the show. But I tell you what, for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, again, Joseph B. Roberts. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, and born and raised. And for the past 10 years, or I should say, past actually coming up on 12 years now, actually, I've been coming close to 12 years. I've been here in the Dallas area. Um, I am an author, speaker, I just actually add to the title of the list a podcaster with the Blessings in the Streets podcast, beginning officially launching in August, but I have pre-launch episodes going on right now here in the month of July. And I'm a deacon, of course, in my church, and just a man who is, transitioning in the point of his life where um, I'm looking to walk into my calling, what God intended for me to do, what He meant for me to be, seeking that fulfillment, but more importantly, just looking for ways to pour into people in the way that God has created for me to do so, uniquely and specifically designed for me. And so that's the mission that I'm on, and I'm just letting God use me in the ways that He sees fit, in doing so, and just pouring into me, and me just trusting in Him to guide me accordingly, even when I don't know all the details and the particulars. Just letting Him work in me. So that's the space and place that I'm in right now. So opportunities to be on platforms like this, affords me the chance to share my message and to share my journey with other people, in hopes of inspiring and encouraging and uplifting them accordingly. So a little bit about me.
Wow, that's exciting. We have titled the show Revelation to Elevation.
Mhm.
Can you elaborate on what that means to you?
For me, and I guess I'll start with the revelation part. For me, when I think about revelation, it wasn't some type of magical, kind of experience. It's as much as it was that point in life when God said to me, in a way that He knows how to communicate with me, this is where I'm desiring for you to go in life. You think about um, our life journeys. Oftentimes when we're all the way from childhood, we're growing up, and we're kind of given that traditional route of what to do. You go to school, you get your education, you go out of here and get a job, you establish a career, you make money, you get a home, you get married, you raise a family, and then one day you grow old, you retire, and you live out whatever years that you have left. Well, what's beautiful about the revelation piece of it, and this comes by having a connection, a relationship with God. um, he reminds us why we were created to begin with. And while we don't like to think of it like this, God didn't create us to pursue careers. Nothing wrong with a career, but that's not why He created us. He created us because He had a specific purpose, a calling, if you will, on our lives that is geared towards why and what we are to serve in. What is going to be our mode of service, and ideally, of course, service in terms of advancing His kingdom. So revelation for me is just God's way of saying to me, hey, Joe, this is what I have for you to do. And this is the platform. This is the location, the place, the space that I want you to do it in. The elevation part of it represents the actual journey in itself. Um, it's one thing to be told which way you should go or what you should be doing. It's another thing to actually get there. And that's the whole definition. That's the whole essence of what the journey is all about, what that elevation process is about. Again, when you think of it in our fleshly perspective, we like to just get promoted. Again, if I use the example of the career, we want to get that new opportunity, want to get promoted, get the raise, and it just happens. Well, that's just not how life happens in general. And the same thing applies when it comes to that spiritual journey, that operating in your calling. There's a journey that you have to go through. And the thing about the journey is that there's no guarantees that it's a smooth journey. There are going to be some bumps in the road. There are going to be some hiccups along the way.
It's promised.
Yeah, there's going to be some hot moments, some cold moments, some moments where you feel like you want to turn back around and go the other way and say, I was just fine where I was. But again, when it's been revealed to you, specifically revealed to you by God as to what you are to do, if you are to ultimately elevate and get to that point where you maximize that which He's called you to do, you have to go through that journey process. So that's when I think about from revelation to elevation, it's just the whole process of it all. It
Yeah.
includes everything
Yeah.
that comes with it. We don't get to pick and choose what parts we like or don't like, and that's why God doesn't tell us up front all the particulars, because He knows if He were to tell us, oh, along the way this is gonna happen, you're gonna get talked about, or you're gonna get looked at funny, or you're gonna run into some tight circumstances or situations, we might not do it at all, or we'll try to modify. Well, I don't like that, and so He
Yeah,
gives us just what we need to do to keep it moving, And that's the path that you have to follow if you ultimately want to elevate to the level that he's intended to for you to do. And that's the place that I'm in right now. That's my journey. It's an ongoing journey
Amen.
that I'm traveling on. And God, and as I move further along, he reveals a little bit more, and he reveals a
Yeah,
little bit more
yeah,
as I get ready, as I reach those various plateaus. He gives me what I'm ready for to handle. Because okay, now you've gotten to this step. Now you get to this step. So it's an ongoing process.
yeah. I heard so much in that, but we can just say, man, that's real talk. That's what the walk with Christ is like. And you know, in order to please God, we have to. The Scripture says, um, to the Scripture. I'm trying to put it in context without actually quoting it, but we have to walk by faith, and
Yes.
that's what pleases God. But um, not only do we have the faith, but we have to exercise the faith, is what I'm trying to say. And along that journey, and when we walk by faith and operate in faith, then that's where we get revelation from. That's just one aspect of it, because when we're a child of God, I mean, if we're a good parent, we want to teach our children. We want to lead our children. We want to reveal things about life in our children. And it goes back to the first thing: don't touch that stove, it's hot.
Hmm.
And some will listen and don't touch it. But then there's others like me. Now I got to see for myself.
Exactly.
But even in the midst of that, the Lord takes care of us. Um, so that's great. And I know that there's a lot in you, just in your life alone. And for you to come onto a platform and to share it, yeah, it's awesome, because a lot of us, man, we'll just hold on to that. We don't share it, but we have to realize that God gives us a story that will embrace, encourage, and set others free. So, so
Amen.
what was your detailed inspiration to actually, share your journey in this aspect?
Well, I mean, again, I mean, it started with well, I guess let me go back. I mean, I've always been pretty open with sharing things about myself in general, and I think that's when you think about the early stages of this walk, if you will. Because it's just one of my gifts is to be able to encourage and come alongside people, and some of the best ways I know how to do that is to remind people that they're not by themselves, that there are other people that go through things. And so I think that's early beginning starts with that. And then if you fast forward, many years later, of course, it ultimately leads into me putting it into a book, so that's where Blessings in the Streets arises and comes into existence, sharing that journey, not only of myself, but, my relationship with my mother, and just again, how God maneuvers in your life when you're faced with various adversities and valley experiences and life challenges. And then now, with the latest thing that I got going on with the podcast is an extension of the book. So it gives me an opportunity to tell like stories for all, because there's no way I could pack in all of the stories of the world into one book. It would be a book that would never end. But this platform allows people to now have a safe space to come on and to share empowering and impactful stories of overcoming adversity. That not only does it promote further healing in them, but it puts them in a position to be able to bless somebody else through their story. Because
Yeah,
trust and believe, there's somebody out there who needs to hear the story that they have to share, because they're either going through that very same thing right now, or ironically, and I really believe that there's truth to it. You could very well be speaking to somebody in platforms like this that they're currently not going in through this story, this challenge. It may be something that's 5 years down the road for them, but when they
mhm,
get there, they're going to remember having listened to you share that story, and now they're equipped and prepared to be able to do it themselves. So it's like, sometimes we have to go through what we go through. It's not about a punishment or anything like that. Sometimes we have to go through what we have to go through just so that we are equipped to be that blessing to someone else who's going to really need it, even at a greater level than we did.
yeah,
And so that's kind of been my step by step walk through all of this. And like I said, yeah, we got the book. Yes, we got the podcast. Yes, we have opportunities like this where I can come on podcasts, of others, and speak about different topics and such. Yes, I have opportunities to, from time to time, be invited to speak somewhere at an event, or in a small group setting or something like that. Those are all good, but even then, that's not the end of the journey, because as we talked about that elevation process, as you start to connect with these various different points of emphasis where you can connect with people, God is going to reveal something else, and you're going to have to elevate to that, and your stage will expand, and your reach will expand, and the way that the process that you have to go through will expand to where you continuously max out, who you are reaching, who you're connecting with, who you're pouring into.
Right.
And again, it's a journey experience. I mean, and it's not an easy one. It's very
Right.
trying. There are many times when you want to just throw your hands and say, maybe I'm not the one. Maybe this is too big for me. But that's where the faith kicks in. Not just the faith in terms of don't be scared, but also thinking about faith from the standpoint of don't be disobedient. Because a lot of times we
Right.
don't like to make that connection. That it's more than just, am I scared to do this, or so I should have more faith? Or am I using, crutches and other things as an excuse to not do what God is telling me to do? Yeah, he'll exercise that patience with you. He's not going to make you do it, but the expectation is I told you to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I
And we
need you
have
to move forward. So
we have to learn to trust him that he's going to bring us through. He's not leading us to sin. He's not leading us to fail or falter. But those things do happen, but he's still there to pick us up and keep us going, whether of course it's through his word, but hey, he'll send somebody by just with a word of encouragement that changes your whole perspective of what you're going through. And again, like you said, God uses different platforms to and different ways to speak to us, to keep us encouraged and say, hey, you're not alone. Someone will come through and say, hey, I've been here before. This is how you maneuver through it. And sometimes you just get that word, trust God.
Yeah.
Trust God. And me, I'm an analytical thinker. They say, well, just keep your hand in God's hand. I'm like, well, how do you do that? You know what I'm saying? I'm reaching up, but where's God's hand at? You know what I'm saying? But, the hand represents so many different things. But in this aspect that we're talking right now, it's comforting. And you can see the hand of God through and in his word, and that it will comfort us whatever we go through.
And I love the way you said about the hand in hand, because that's a valid question. A lot of people ask, how do I do that? And I guess the best answer to that would be, it begins with the relationship. You have to have a relationship with him. You have to make a decision. I'm going to be in relationship with you. I may not understand all the particulars as to where this goes or whatever, but God, being who he is, he'll walk you through that. He'll show you what it means to be in relationship with him, his expectations, his desires for you, his cares for you, his just the way that he functions in that relationship. But that's where it really begins, is if anybody wants to know the how, get in a relationship with him and let him show you everything else that comes along with that.
Yeah, and that's where the foundation is laid, is having a desire to seek him, and having a desire to serve him, and having a desire to be obedient. And in the midst of it, when the foundation is laid, the Lord will start building. And that's what it's all about. But he wants us to be willing to embrace him and to follow him no matter what. I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk about, we're talking about sharing our lives and sharing our journeys. And sometimes, we feel, this to say, unclothed in that process. But we want to come back. We're going to talk about the value of each person that we have. So we'll be right back with Fire and Life Talk. Again, thanks for tuning in, comment, like, definitely subscribe, and we'll be right back.
Throughout time, the ritual of sacrifice has been central to many of the world's religions. The Aztecs, Incas, and Mayans sacrificed women, children, and prisoners of war to the gods of the sun, rain, and the earth. It was believed the gods required the blood of such victims to maintain power and life. The Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Ammonites, and Canaanites sacrificed firstborn sons and daughters to the god Moloch, also known as Baal. It was believed the god required such sacrifice to sustain their own life and render theirs immortal. The Celtic Druids and the Romans laid human sacrifices within the foundations of temples, monuments, and homes. It was believed that gods required such a sacrifice to provide protection. Today, many occultic practices and religious groups around the world still require human sacrifices under the false idea that they will result in power or immortality. Human blood sacrifices have resulted only in death. Only one has resulted in life. In ancient Israel, God himself walked among men in the form of the man Jesus Christ. He shed his own blood for us when he was beaten and crucified. He conquered the power of death with his resurrection so that we might obtain life after death. He is the cornerstone of our faith. All it requires is that we believe.
Welcome back to Fire and Life Talk with our special guest, Joseph B. Roberts, the author, the storyteller extraordinaire, the podcast host, the father, the husband, the deacon, the MC, all of that. He's going to give his contact information here in a little bit, but this is an extraordinary young man that we've had a pleasure of learning from. And I can't forget to mention my lovely co-host again, Pastor Gina. And we're all just having a great time behind the scenes. So, we're trying to bring that same energy to the screen. So, before we left, we were talking about sharing, your personal story, but also encouraging people to share their personal story, their personal journey. I believe the Bible says testimony.
Yes.
You have the Old Testament, and the New Testament is testimonies of those that witness Christ and witness God and the things that he has done. And it's just extraordinary within itself. But getting back to us as humans, no matter what we've gone through, we can always share that and help others to make it through. But sometimes we think because of what we've gone through that we don't have value, that we think less of ourselves or something like that. Because say a person that's gone through drugs, your dignity's taken away, and there's that stigma, and people look at you a certain way, don't trust you, things of that nature. But so again, we just thank you for coming on and sharing that. But through the midst of it, what keeps you motivated and to continue to, to share your revelation and elevation? Because just going through my personal thing, everyone don't embrace you. When they find out that there's some, and for those that are listening, I'm putting air quotes up right now, those that think you dirty or less than, or what you went through, But tell us what keeps you motivated.
Well, I think there's a few things. Of course, for me as a man of faith, it all begins with prayer and trusting in God. I think that's as we shared earlier, that's the foundation of it all. It's the foundation of the relationship. I would say another element that's important, especially when you find yourself going through adversities that you believe were, for lack of a better way of saying it, like self-inflicted, due to, let's just say, poor decisions, poor judgment calls, or what have you. It's just being able to forgive yourself. A lot of times people can just beat themselves up about, I made this mistake, I did this, I did that. Something I said, something that I thought about that I shouldn't have been thinking about, something that I did that I should have never done. Um, yeah, while it may have been a mistake, while it may have been a misstep, while you may have wished that you could have had a do-over in it, I think that to ignite that healing process, to that moving forward, you have to learn to forgive yourself. If God can forgive you, if he can forgive you, why would you allow yourself to still be stressing out and beating yourself up, in some cases beating yourself up about something that took place years ago? um God has already let it go. He's already forgiven you. He's still loving on you. He's still desiring the best for you, and you still are finding yourself stuck. And that's just a trick of the enemy, to be honest. Which is, again, a big motivation behind what I try to do with my podcast, or even through the book, is just to encourage people. We're going to all go through stuff. We're going to all have challenging and adverse situations. The key is okay, am I going to stay stuck here forever, or is there going to be a point in life where I just say, you know what, I need to figure out a way to move forward. I need to figure out a way to heal from this situation that I find myself in. Again, whether it's self-inflicted or whether it was just one of those situations that just hit us, by chance, that we didn't see coming, a death in the family, a divorce, or something of that nature, something extreme that's happened that we would define as a traumatic event. You know, um, sometimes people want to put a time frame on grieving, things of that nature. Well, there is no time frame for that. But while there is no time frame, for example, if we're talking about the subject of grieving, that still doesn't mean that it's okay for you to just uh, not move forward with life. You can do both of them simultaneously. You can go through the grieving process. You can also take an opportunity to say, okay, what do I need to do now to move forward from this situation that is taking place? How can I take what's happened, after I've had a chance to sort of calm down, catch my breath, um, you know, wipe my tears away. Now let me think about the situation that I'm in, that I'm going through, and figure out what is the positive side of it. And that's what's been really helpful to me in helping me to move forward, is just saying, okay, this happened. I didn't like it. It didn't feel good. I don't know why it went the way that it did, but if God allowed it to come down my pathway, I know that He did so because there's something I'm supposed to get out of it. There's a lesson I'm supposed to glean from it. There's an opportunity here for growth. So what do I need to pull from this in order to identify what that growth moment is, what that lesson moment is, so that I can elevate, mentally, emotionally, physically, and or spiritually. I have to look at it from both perspectives. So that's been truly beneficial to me, because I now look at it from both sides, it prevents me from getting into that rut, if you will. And that's something that I want to encourage other people. Don't get into rut. You're still human, so you have a right to have that feeling, those emotions that we go through, because that's what we do. We're flesh, we're human. But just, you can't just stay there. Give yourself an opportunity, put yourself in position for God to speak to you, to say, okay, I know that this hurts. I know it's not feeling good. Just know, one, that I'm with you. Two, forgive yourself, because I have. And three, let's lock arms. Let's walk through this journey together, so that I can reveal to you on the other side of the storm why this was necessary. I know you don't understand today. You may not understand tomorrow or next week, but eventually you will. But you gotta
Yes.
lock arms with me, walk it through with
Yes.
me. Quit trying to pick it up. I got it. I didn't bring this your way for you to carry the load, because you can't. But I can, and that's why I'm with you. That's why our relationship is so valuable. Let's walk it through together, and I promise you, when we come out on the other side of it, it's gonna all make sense.
Yeah.
You're gonna go, oh, this is why I had to go through what I had to go through. This was the purpose for it. This is what it all meant. Now it makes sense to me. Now I understand. It's just the process of it all. So that's what's been beneficial for me to navigate through those adversity moments, big, small, or otherwise. That's how I've been able to process it all.
That is so good. I know some of our listeners are wondering and about this purpose How did you embrace this purpose, not knowing the full extent of the purpose?
Um, I think ultimately, not to simplify it, but I guess the simple thing was just to um, step out on faith. I think when God has a way that when He's wanting you to do something, when He has something set out for you to do that He's created for you, that opportunity to make impact, to make change, not only for yourself but for others. He has His own unique way of revealing to you that this is the direction that you should go. And for each of us, it's unique. What He does it for, the way that He does it for me is going to be different than the way He does it for you, or the way He does it for somebody else. I think if I had to use myself as an example, He first brings it to my attention. He presents it in such a way to let me know that, hey, you can do this. This is a natural part of who you are. If I don't immediately, jump on top of this and move forward accordingly, God, being who God is, He exercises a level of patience with me. He says, okay, well, since you're not yet understanding what I have for you, let me remind you why you shouldn't be comfortable with what you do have. So sometimes what God does is He'll mess with your comfort zone.
Yes.
He's done that. He's been masterful at that with me. And sometimes messing with your comfort zone could mean, again, allowing certain things to come at you. Sometimes it may even go to the extreme of isolating you, where you feel like it's just you out here by yourself. Now, of course, we know that we're not alone. We're never alone as long as we're in relationship with Him. But He has a way of, because He doesn't make you do anything. He wants it to be your genuine will and desire to do so.
Yes.
But He is a strong convincer. He is
Yes, He is.
he will, I'm not going to make you, but I'm going to strongly recommend, I'm going to allow situations to take place that will make you at least reconsider my offer to you.
Yeah.
And that's how He works with me. When I'm hard headed and stubborn, I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Hey, you're putting it the nice way.
he hits you like that, and like I said,
Yeah.
there have been moments where I've literally felt isolated. Like,
Oh, definitely.
I'm just like on an island by myself. Like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
But again, as I shared earlier, you can't take it like as if it's an attack on you from Him.
Right.
There's attacks out there, but He's not attacking you. It's not.
That's right.
He has to take you and meet you where you are. He's wonderful at meeting you where you are, but creating that situation where you're going to understand one way or the other, both the benefits and the consequences of your decision. Now, ultimately, for some of us, unfortunately, some of us choose the consequence side, and we realize that, and it's what it is. But then there's some of us who embrace it, and then some of us, we just got to test the waters a little bit. Pastor Gary, you talked about earlier about the example of I was told don't touch the stove because it's hot. I was given fair warning and instruction, but I just had to do it. And sometimes, as a father does, as a father does, or even as a mother does, sometimes we have to let our children bump their head. Not because I'm letting you hurt. I'm going to let you hurt yourself, to where it becomes critical, but sometimes you might have to get burnt a little bit. You might have to get that head bumped a little bit. Like, oh, that's why you told me don't do this. Okay. I'm sorry. I please forgive me. And then guess what? Like, what's so beautiful about God is He's like, okay, well, I just had to let you do it because that was the only way that I could get you to understand. But guess what? I'm still here for you. I still love you.
Yes.
We're still gonna get through this. I'm not mad at you. I just, I mean, I would have preferred you not having to touch the hot stove, but sometimes I got to let you do that to drive the point across.
Yes.
But it's not the end. You didn't. Your hand is not burnt off. It's not unusable. In fact, I'm gonna let it not only heal up, but I'm gonna let it be used in a way that you've never even used it before. I mean, He just has that way of. But you only know this by virtue of the relationship, because I could tell you could tell, you could speak to this from, like I said, from the pulpit, from from quoting scriptures and all of that, and for some people they receive that. Other people, they don't want to, for whatever reason, they don't want to hear all that. Some people just they need to understand it for themselves. And so the best way that you can say that is, look, just try Him. Try
Right.
God. Try being in a
Yeah,
relationship
right
with him.
now.
Try
Amen.
opening up to him, and just I promise you, if you just try him, he'll show you.
Yes,
Yeah.
he
And
will.
he'll feed you in
Yeah.
this. If it needs to be baby steps, he'll give it to you in the baby steps. Whatever, he just needs you to say, I'm willing. I'm open
I'm
to
willing.
the idea of it. And
Yeah.
Yes.
then just let it play out. Give it a chance, and I promise you, the more chance that you give it, and the more you pour into it, it'll just start. It'll become a craving. And you'll
Yes.
Yeah.
want more
Yeah.
of
That's
it.
good.
And then
That's
as the
good
as
right
the
there.
revelations come through, and the elevations come through, and the testimonies come through, and you're like, oh, okay. And then just when you thought he did something big, to hit you with something bigger, you're like, oh, okay. And it's a snowball effect.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and and that's the whole beauty of it all. And it's, again, everybody reaches this point at various stages and places in life. But the point is to make the connection. That's really all I can tell you. If you want, that's been one of my premises about just relationships in general. If you look at my tagline that I've associated myself with is a relationship strategist. And the reason I call myself that is, again, I believe that if you want any relationship to strive and thrive, I don't care what the relationship is, who it's with, God has to be the foundational basis of it.
Yes.
If you wondering why your marriage ain't working, if your marriage is not working, like literally, like it's about to fail, my first thing would be, if I was, and I'm no marriage counselor, but the first thing I'd be asking is, okay, where's God? And is God been a part of this?
Right.
Because we already know if God is in it, the marriage can have rocky roads to it, but at least it won't crumble
That's right.
because of who's connected to it. It'll still be. We're not saying it'll be perfect just because God is in it, but you'll know that you'll survive the difficult times. The same thing applies with friendships. The same thing applies with relationship with children, with your parents, with your workplace, with your finances. I don't care what. That's why I said I don't care what the relationship is. Where is God in it? And if He's not in it, then that kind of answers a lot of your questions that you might have as to why it's not working right.
That's right.
Why does it seem like we can't make any progress? Well,
Right.
you're trying
Right.
to do it. You're trying to do it outside of the paradigm of what it was intended. We weren't expected to go on these journeys alone.
Right.
Right.
So
It's
Yeah.
it's
And
like
that's,
a protection.
mhm.
You
Yeah,
know, you're up under his umbrella and not your own.
right.
yeah.
My
And you,
umbrella ain't
and
gonna
you,
be as
you
strong
know,
as his.
with both of your comments, I think about the children of Israel when he brought them out of captivity. The scripture said that it was actually a 2-week journey to the promised land, but he took them through the wilderness to teach them so they'll learn how to fight.
Wow.
Mhm.
And even in the wilderness, that hard place, that hard, dry place, he fed them with manna. They complained and wanted some pheasant, I think it was. And they ate pheasant, came out their ears. But he led them with a pillar of fire by night
Yes.
and a pillar of cloud by day. And the Bible even says that their sandals didn't even wear out. Their
That's
clothes didn't
right.
wear out. And, you mentioned the relationship part of it. And God was revealing himself, saying, hey,
Yes.
it may look hard, it may feel hard, but I'm with you.
Yes.
Had Moses hit that rock? Have you ever seen water come out of a rock?
No, I don't recall such a thing.
So I think that would be very unique,
Yes.
water to come out of a rock. But he just showed himself and his creativity. I wouldn't think about getting anyway. That's another thing, man. The water from the rock. I'm at
But the water from the rock was important because
Yes.
it separates who God is from everybody else. Because we know in
That's
our
right.
own normal day-to-day strength, nobody's
right.
expecting any of us to walk up to a rock and hit it and water springs from it.
Yes, we're gonna have to get some rock water fountains.
Right.
That water.
Yeah, and that's just how you kind of know in life when God is in
Yes.
it, because He's always going to do it in a way that you're going to have a hard time explaining this as just a natural
Oh yeah.
occurrence to
Right.
people. Now the beautiful
You know
thing is,
what?
it becomes natural by your relationship with Him as it develops. The happenings become natural because now it's no longer a shock that it's happening to you, because
Right.
I know who
Right.
God is, so it's shocking, but I'm not really surprised
That's
Right.
right.
You live,
because
and that's the thing. We're supposed to live in miracles
yeah,
as the children of God. They should be common, I
yeah,
should say.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
miracles should be common in our lives. But hold on, let me see. Earlier this week, we were conversing with another brother of ours, and he says, God specializes in the crazy things. Like,
Yeah.
like the things in this world that don't make sense. God specializes in it.
You can even visualize him like doing like what we're doing. You can visualize him like sitting back, just chuckling, like, "Look at them. Let me just try this. They gonna really be surprised by this when I tell them to take these couple of
Yeah,
pieces of bread and a couple of pieces of fish and feed all these people. They
Yeah.
gonna be like,
right,
let me just
right.
mess with them just to
Yeah,
show them what I can
just
do.
to show him who I am. Yeah,
Just
exactly.
yeah. So it's
Exactly.
that,
If,
but
if
that's the
we would
beauty
get
of it.
time,
I mean, and the stories become countless after a while. Like,
yeah,
but it's just a wonderful thing when you experience it, and it's like, we can only share what we can share because of what we've personally been able to bear witness to. I mean, you can't
Right.
make this stuff up. I
That's
mean,
right.
somebody people you can, but I mean, it just
It don't
when
work.
God is in it, just it's just different. It's just different,
Yeah.
and that's not when we speak of these things. And I don't speak to it like as if I'm a perfect man who walks on water and
Right.
never does wrong and all of that. I mean, God has been given more than enough reason not to show me an ounce of grace, an ounce of mercy. If with all his power and authority, he should have took me out long ago and not given
Yeah.
me the benefit of anything that I've been the pleasure of having benefit. But he has a higher purpose, a higher calling, and he takes you through what he
Yes.
takes you through for a reason. It's all a
That's
part of the
right.
process. So we can't even dismiss, even when we wish things went differently. It's kind of like, yeah, in the flesh, we might say that. I wish I didn't have to go through this, that, or other. But actually, it was necessary. There
Yeah.
was a reason why you did. There was a reason why you made
Yes.
that dumb decision. Because
yeah.
there was something to be learned from it that's going to help you do something later that you need to do. I mean, it's just all intertwined, and that's what you got to understand. So
That's right.
Well, let me give an example. Just last year alone, when we were in the Bahamas and almost drowned, and you have to realize that. Well, just let me share it. I've been swimming since I was a little kid, like 7 years old. In the pool, the lake, the oceans, and I learned to respect the ocean.
mhm.
But when I was out there in that ocean all by myself, I did everything that I knew to do is concerning dealing with the water, a body of water, that I did everything that I knew to do. I treaded water, I lay back, I floated, I tried to come in on my belly, I tried to come in on my side. But because the salt water got stuck to the back of my throat, it was inhibiting me to operate because my body was trying to dislodge. It was just doing what it was created to do, to dislodge the obstruction. So I ended up getting tired. And long story short, I just got in a position where it wasn't about me anymore. But I had a choice, and I share. People that know me know that the hard times in my life, the dark times in my life, I take it and I kind of make fun of it where I can have joy through it. And I know everyone doesn't process like that. So, um, they say your life flashed before your eyes. And I say, yeah, that's true. But, I just had a little commercial. My whole life didn't flash. And but again, long story short, because there was so much in that, but I came to a choice because I realized I'm like, oh man, this is how people drown, and I'm literally out there in the middle of the ocean in the Bahamas, choking and gagging, taking in water, but I had to make a decision because um, at one point this peace came over me that I cannot explain. And I know the Bible says that God is peace, and was even taught that where there's peace is, there's God. And this peace came over me, but I still had to make a decision to surrender to the peace or to surrender to the ocean. And the ocean was just doing what the ocean does. It was just being the ocean. I was a stranger in that environment. So I remember laying back, and I'm still coughing, trying to get this obstruction out. And I remember laying back and just closing my eyes, and I surrendered to the peace. I don't know how long it was. I didn't hear any music. Didn't nobody physically bring me in, but I finally felt sand up under my feet, and I was able to stand. And I'm still coughing and throwing up water and everything, but I was able to stand. And I looked back, and I had struggled into a cove where couldn't no one see me. So again, it was so much more to that. But what I want to say is, concerning what we're talking about during our journey, we get in a place where we do all that we know how to do.
That's right.
And God will keep us in a peace in the midst of it, where we still have to make a decision, because we have a will, either to submit to God or submit to the environment that's in you.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to, that's around you, that you're in, or that we're in. And you have to realize that we're in a fallen and broken world that's full of darkness, and it's cold, and it's evil, and it's not for you. These worldly systems and the worldly atmosphere is set up for us to fail.
Yes.
It's set up for us to fail. But if we would just yield to God when we get to that point that mom and them can't help you. There was a lifeguard on the Sea-Doo. He was about 40 yards away. And at one point I said, well, if I just get the breath I can and wave my arms and holler help, maybe he'll see me and come get me. But if he don't, then it was over with. So I didn't take that process. And everything's happening like that, just like life. But I was able to make it through the shore, praise God. And, instead of, I should have been praising the Lord on the beach, but I was mad at the people that we were there with, my wife and other people. I'm like, didn't y'all see me? I'm still throwing up and coughing and all this stuff. And, I wanted to lay hands, what I'm saying? But they told me, yeah, we seen you. We was taking pictures and video. I'm like, man, I'm out there drowning. But again, mom and them, we get into situations where mom and them can't help you. Your job can't help you. Your friends can't help you. So it was a personal experience that maybe just for this point to share with someone. When you've done all that you can do, stand. I believe it was a song by Donnie McClurkin. When you've done all you can do, stand.
Yeah.
I even encourage you, even before that, as you're going through, embrace God. As you're going through, call upon him to help you. He's the very present help in time of need. But when you've done all you can do, stand on the word of God. Sometimes we have to throw our hands up. And I share this all the time, that when you lift your hands, it's two international symbols around the world that people will understand. When you put your hands up, it's either surrender or it's victory.
That's right.
And with that, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Joseph B. Roberts in Revelation to Elevation, right here on Fire and Life Talk. Well, welcome back to Fire and Life Talk. I'm your host with the co-host, Pastor Gina, or should I say that fine Pastor Gina. Well, we got our special guest with us, Joseph B. Roberts, extraordinaire. And again, we appreciate you coming on today. And we're talking about revelation to elevation. And if you're just tuning in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and even send in some comments. And we'll be sure to get those comments on the screen and get with you. But Mr. Roberts, I hesitate because we call you so much, man. Deacon, Mr. Roberts, Arthur, Joe, Joseph, all that. But share with us, is there any particular characteristics or important qualities a person should have to achieve success, along their journeys from revelation to elevation?
For me, I would say that there are some key things that you want to keep in mind. Some of them we talked about, but just to recap, I have what I like to refer to as a self-care regimen. And I don't speak about self-care from the standpoint of, the traditional way that we speak of it in terms of, making sure that you treat yourself to, some fun things to do, or, or a massage or a manicure, pedicure. I mean, those things are valuable, but I'm speaking about self-care from a different level that I think it's not only helpful in your day to day, but that when you find yourself in the midst of challenging times, if this is something that you normally practice in doing, I believe it puts you in the best position possible to overcome those difficult moments. So for me, self-care is basically broken up to eight components. So it starts off, of course, with being spiritually connected, meaning, again, going back to that relationship with God. From there, it requires you to exercise. And when I say exercise, I don't mean, taking a 2-mile run. I don't mean lifting weights. Again, those things are valuable, but I'm talking about exercise in terms of exercising the mind. That's when you're taking the time to take a few moments to get into your word, to understand, what God is desiring for you and how he expects you to conduct yourself and carry yourselves in life. It's you exercising your mind from a standpoint of affirmations, anything positive that you can, use to encourage yourself. Even exercising your mind in terms of being selective as to what types of things you let into your mind. So selective TV programming, selective music programming, things of that nature. Then you have the element of love. And when I speak about love, I speak about it unconditional love, learning how to unconditionally love people, because how can we expect unconditional love from God, but then we want to pick and choose who we love? So that means you don't just get to love your friends and your family, people that you like. That means you also got to learn to love your enemies. You got to learn to love people who don't mean you well, not because it's right for them to be a certain way towards you, but because they're a human, and it's what God is love, and we should be a representation of that. Another component, which I mentioned about earlier, is about forgiveness. We have to learn to forgive. It is the key component to igniting our healing process. And so we can't begin to heal. We can't begin to move forward if we're either refusing to forgive ourselves or refusing to forgive others who we may feel who have wronged us. Then you have the concept of caring for other people. In other words, it's not always about me. Sometimes I have to step aside and have some compassion and some understanding for other people, letting other people have an opportunity to be, made important, versus it always, if it's not about me, if it's not my way, then I'm not interested. You have to learn to exercise that caring component. It's also about appreciation. We go through life complaining about what we don't have and this, that, and the other, but a lot of times in the midst of our doing that, we fail to appreciate what God has done for us. Everything from the fact that he woke us up this morning, everything from the fact that I might not have the house that somebody else has, but at least I got a roof over my head. I may not have, prime steaks in the refrigerator, but I do have food in the house. I have clothes. It may not all be the latest designers, but they are clothes, and they're clean, and they're usable. Just appreciating. Then of course there's the respect factor, respect of self, respect of other people, respect of you talked about earlier, even respect of nature. I think
Yeah.
to respect the
Yeah.
ocean,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate we heard
It's bigger than us.
it's bigger than us. I mean, some things that respect who God is, respect respect everything that is out there, and again, including ourselves. And then, of course, the last component of that would be empathy. Just learning to be empathetic of other people in situations. Like, I don't have to be going through what you go through to feel for what you're going through, because the reality is that I'm only one job loss, one divorce, one medical condition, or something of that nature that could put me in the very same position that you are. So while I got my nose turned up, or I'm looking down on you, or making you feel some kind of way because you're going through, what's going to happen when it's my turn? When it happens to me, I'm going to want somebody to be empathetic of my situation. So, hey, you need, but these are all things that should be a regular practice in what you do. It shouldn't, don't wait until the adversity happens and then you're trying to play catch up. No, this should be a normal part of you, because as we know, Bible teaches, you reap what you sow. So if you want to be covered, if you want to be shielded, if you want to be protected, encouraged, uplifted, loved on, cared for, forgiven, all those things, that should be a normal part of what you do in your day to day, to be that for other people.
But you know what, Joseph B, everything that you mentioned is not to be selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be selfish. It ain't all about us. It ain't all about us. If we have that mentality, we have that way of life, that's what we're striving for. Oh man, the blessings will just fall upon us. Gotta make a way for the scriptures say, when we delight ourselves in the Lord, he gives us the desires of our heart. If we would just be obedient in everything you said, God will shower blessings upon us, because we're lining up our soul, our mind, our will, and our emotions with the word of God and being obedient in that. Oh my goodness, man, you said a lot. We could have a whole show, just on that alone. That's powerful. That's powerful. That made me stand still real quick. We have to look in the mirror and measure ourselves every day. And that's why the Bible says that we have to study, and study our Bibles every day. It's like looking in the mirror. Do read, how does that word of God reflect on our personal life? Are we walking that walk, or just talking that talk, or neither? And again, sometimes like we talked about earlier, it can be challenging, but it's attainable. Mm-hmm. It's attainable. But I tell you what, we got about 3 minutes left. What I'd like to do is just tell us how we can contact you and everything that you have coming up.
Okay. Well, again, as we shared earlier, I just started the Blessings in the Streets podcast. So I would definitely encourage you to subscribe to that. I have some pre-launch episodes that are coming out throughout the month of July, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And the official launching of the podcast will be in August, where you'll actually begin to see.
Which platform is it on?
This is on YouTube. So
okay.
Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I promise you will be blessed. Encourage you to link, let other people know if you're interested in speaking with me directly about any speaking opportunities or other ways that I can be of benefit to connect with you or collaborate with you. The best way to do so is by email, god+1llc@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to see how I can be of service to you to connect, whether it's to your organization or if it's a one-on-one session or anything of that nature. And of course, and if you're interested in actually getting my book, Blessings in the Streets, you can go to blessingsinthestreets.com. That's a way to order the book directly that way. Or again, you can just reach out to me directly and I can coordinate you being able to get an autographed copy of the book. So,
all right. That's awesome. We get ready to close out. But again, contact Joseph B. Roberts and all that he do. He's a great speaker, author, and just everything, all around great person that he's allowing God to use him mightily in this earth. So thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, to come back again, tell your friends about it, all the way over in India, Russia, Vietnam, Budapest. I think that's our top ones right there. And then the US comes in. But we thank you from wherever you're watching, and God bless. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Fire and Life Talk, where Jesus is Lord. If you would like more information, visit our website at fireandlife.org.